238 AD. A senator bought 40 farms with worthless coins. The sellers celebrated their fortune in silver. By winter, that silver couldn't buy bread. The senator's heirs still own that land today. Well, metaphorically speaking. Because you see, empires don't die. They reincarnate in whoever controls the balance sheet. Rome didn't fall in a day. It bled through its currency first. The denarius, once pure silver, became a ghost. 94% silver in Nero's time, 5% by 270 AD. But here's what they don't teach in economics classes. The debasement wasn't sudden, it was methodical, calculated. Each emperor shaved a little more. Nero to 94%. Marcus Aurelius to 75%. Septimius Severus to 50%. Each cut justified by crisis. Each crisis creating the next. Imagine holding a coin worth nothing. Yet senators accumulated estates. Between 30 and 50% of Italian land by 300 AD. How? They knew the secret. When money dies, real things survive. Land, gold, grain silos. The public clutched their coins. The elite clutched the earth itself. Hunger breeds submission, fear breeds opportunity. And that's where everything changed. Quick thing, if you want the next video on which 3 assets survived every collapse, hit subscribe. It drops in 48 hours. The pattern is choreography, not chaos. Choreography. Step 1. Debt strangles the state. Wars, welfare, vanity projects. Rome had its Germanic campaigns, its bread and circuses, its monuments to forgotten gods. Step 2. The anchor breaks. Silver diluted, gold abandoned, trust evaporated. The aureus, Rome's gold coin, went from 8 grams to 6.5, then 5.5, then disappeared entirely. Citizens hoarded old coins, markets froze, barter returned to the forum. Step 3. The transfer. While citizens panicked, senators bought, not with debased coins, with connections, with stored wealth. With tomorrow's currency while others clung to yesterday's, the pattern repeated. Always the same dance, different music. 1931, Britain, the empire where sun never set, watched sterling sink 30% overnight. The Bank of England had maintained gold convertibility for 210 years, 2 centuries of as good as gold. Then September 21st arrived. Prime Minister MacDonald's voice crackled over the BBC. The gold standard is suspended. 3 million jobless. Balance sheets hemorrhaging. Hunger marches from Jarrow to London. The empire that ruled the waves couldn't rule its ledgers. But Barings Bank, the Rothschilds, Hambros, they deployed capital precisely when blood ran in the streets. Imperial insiders consolidated control over colonial assets. They bought Malaysian rubber plantations for pennies, Indian textile mills at auction, Canadian wheat fields from desperate farmers. The unemployed increased nothing. The City of London emerged stronger. The empire died, but the bankers inherited its ghost. They still do. Look at the square mile today. More powerful than when Victoria reigned. Nixon, 1971. Temporarily suspended gold convertibility. 54 years of temporary. August 15th, 8 p.m. Eastern, a Sunday night. Markets closed. Nixon's jowls filled television screens. I am directing Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Temporary. Like Rome's emergency debasements. Like Britain's crisis measures. The dollar lost 98.5% against gold, from $35 per ounce to $2,700. The top 1% doubled their share to 20%. Their wealth didn't double, it transformed, from vulnerable paper to protected assets. Coincidence? There are no coincidences in monetary history. Comment your country's flag if you're seeing this pattern where you live. Let's map this in real time. They don't announce themselves. The architects work in acronyms, IMF, BIS, ECB. But watch their hands, not their words. 2024. Central banks bought 1,045 tons of gold. Not paper gold, not ETFs. Physical metal in underground vaults. A record. First half of 2025. The pace continues. 410 tons in 6 months. Poland leads with 67 tons. Turkey adds steadily. China, they stopped reporting, but satellite imagery shows new vault construction in Beijing. Singapore's building underground storage that could hold 1,000 tons. India repatriated 100 tons from London. Since 2022, central banks have added approximately 3,500 tons. 3,500 tons of physical gold. Why? Because central bankers read history. They know the script. When Weimar printed, gold holders survived. When Argentina defaulted, 9 times, gold holders survived. When Zimbabwe printed $100 trillion notes, gold holders bought the country. BlackRock, 13.5 trillion under management. That's 13,500 billion, more than Japan's GDP, more than Germany and France combined. They're pivoting to real assets. Translation, things you can touch when paper burns. Larry Fink doesn't give interviews about this, but read their investor reports. Infrastructure, up 34%. Commodities, up 27%. Real estate, up 41%. Equities and bonds, declining percentages every quarter. Saudi sovereign funds. The Public Investment Fund, $1.1 trillion. Singapore's Temasek. Norway's Oil Fund, all moving the same direction, away from promises, toward possession. They're buying farmland in Arizona, water rights in Australia, ports in Italy. They're not investing, they're positioning. Ray Dalio warned us, issuing new debt just to pay old interest. A spiral with one ending. Family offices and ultra-high net worth individuals are increasing their allocations to real assets, shifting portfolios toward real estate and commodities, while you still trust the screen. If this is making sense, tap the like button. I track which videos people actually value. That decides what I research next. 251 trillion. Global debt, according to the IMF. A number so large it loses meaning. Like saying the universe is big, true, useless. But feel this. U.S. interest payments reached $952 billion in 2025, approaching the trillion mark, already surpassing defense spending, more than most domestic programs. We're borrowing to pay the borrowing costs. The Federal Reserve holds $6.6 trillion in assets, down from the peak but still massive. The ECB, $6.2 trillion. Bank of Japan, why were $695 trillion. Numbers that would have been considered insane just 20 years ago. Now they're normal. That normalization, that's the pattern accelerating. Financial repression, they call it, keeping rates below inflation. Your savings melt at 3% yearly, silently, politely. Meanwhile, real inflation runs higher than official numbers. Food up 25% in 3 years according to USDA data. Housing up 35 to 40% per BLS. Energy up 30%, though volatile. But your savings account still paying less than 0.5% on average according to the FDIC. Central banks have added 3,500 tons of gold since 2022. Sovereign funds flood into farmland. Bill Gates owns 275,000 acres of U.S. farmland, according to the Land Report. The Chinese bought Smithfield Foods, America's largest pork producer. The Saudis control significant water rights in the Southwest. Tech billionaires buy compounds in remote locations. Zuckerberg's Hawaii estate, $300 million according to recent reports. Thiel's New Zealand properties. Ellison owns 98% of Lanai Island. They're not paranoid. They're students of history. When Rome burned, senators had villas in Gaul. When sterling collapsed, insiders held colonial estates. When the dollar detached, they owned the companies. Digital confusion is the new bread and circuses. AI inequality, the new class divide. Crypto rushes, the new gold fever. NFTs, meme stocks, SPACs, distractions while real wealth repositions. But the pattern never changes. Subscribe to Wealth Wars if you want to see the pattern before it appears in textbooks. We documented the pound's decline. We're documenting the dollars. The question isn't whether your currency is next. The question is whether you'll position before everyone else realizes it. I've watched this cycle for 40 years, teaching it, warning about it, mostly being ignored about it. Empires are living things. They breathe through commerce, bleed through currency, die through debt, and resurrect through whoever holds the assets when music stops. The denarius still exists, in museums, a curiosity. Children on school trips walk past without looking. The pound still exists, a shadow of empire, from world reserve to regional currency in one lifetime. The dollar still exists, for now. But BRICS nations increasingly settle in yuan. Oil trades in multiple currencies. Gold flows east at record pace, 70% of central bank purchases according to the World Gold Council. You ask me what to do. I'm too old for advice, too tired for prophecy. But I'll tell you what senators knew, what Barings knew, what BlackRock knows. When everyone believes in paper, believe in earth. When everyone trusts the complex, trust the simple. When everyone follows the crowd, remember that crowds built every empire, and crowds watched every empire burn. The wealth doesn't vanish, it repositions. While you read the headlines, they read the ledgers. Empires don't die. They reincarnate in whoever controls the balance sheet. History doesn't repeat, but it does recruit. The question is, which side are you on? One question. Are you preparing or hoping it won't happen? Comment, preparing or hoping. Be honest with yourself, because the pattern has already begun its next movement, and this time, you're living through it. The battles behind balance sheets never ended. They just found new currencies to destroy. History doesn't repeat, it collects interest.